Close enough.
Hey guys, it's me and Andre again. Today we have our lovely guest who is currently one of the goalkeepers for the Reggae Girls. Her name is Nicole Mcclure. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for having me.
And so usually we start like this. You just have to tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll continue from there.
Okay. Like you said, my name is Nicole Mcclure, one of the goalkeepers for the Jamaica Reggae Girls. I currently reside in Queens, New York. I'm 31 years old, and I also coach kids on the side during the off season.
Ah, that's nice and spicy. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you grew up, what was it like, etc.
Okay. Well, a fun fact: Andre and I were neighbors back in the day in Queens, in South Jamaica, Queens, New York.
Oh,
Yeah, so there's a connection there. Both of my parents are from Jamaica, grew up in St. Anne as well as Kingston.
uh,
So that's how I have my citizenship to become Jamaican. Started playing football when I was 8 years old, among other sports, as Andre can attest.
Basketball.
I have to credit him for my athleticism because if it wasn't for him and my brother and my cousins, I didn't
ah,
know anything about sports, about basketball, and having a thick skin growing up playing with older boys and whatnot. So, yeah, just playing in the backyard. Like I said, I started at 8 years old playing football, and then from there it just progressed. I just continued with it, played all over New York and throughout the country. Got a scholarship to play for University of South Florida. Graduated in 2011, and then immediately afterwards, I went pro. Played in Iceland, Switzerland, France, Croatia, Sweden, Israel, Northern Ireland, and Norway.
extensive.
Yes, quite a few countries.
Ah,
So, out of all those experiences of playing in different countries, which would you say actually stood out for you and why?
Playing wise, I would say two countries, Iceland and Sweden. Iceland because it was my first professional experience and didn't do well. Quite a few goals were scored against me. It was our first time in the Premier League, so that was a bit of a challenge. So we're the underdogs for every single match. But I learned a huge lesson about myself. I wanted to quit, to be honest with you. I didn't want to play anymore because every game was a blowout. But we managed to stay afloat and stayed in the league for the following season. And I would credit Sweden as well because I learned so much about the game. The coaching there is very, very good. I learned different aspects of the game and how to improve as a player. So those two countries for sure.
question, were you always a goalie or you transition into being a goalkeeper?
I feel like no one is really naturally just a straight up goalkeeper. Go into training one time and say go in the goal, and then whoever stays in longest becomes a goalkeeper.
I know somebody that happened to. Like, we had one training and then all of a sudden she dived and saved a ball and the coach was like, hey,
you
that. And from there she continued playing as a goalie.
Yeah, that happened to me. I was a midfielder, but I started playing. And then one time in training, we had kind of like a roundabout kind of thing, and the coach said, "Okay, you go in for two shots, and then we rotate." But for me, I was just always there with my hands like this because playing basketball back in Queens, so that was always like a natural thing for me.
Exactly.
So I guess I could say I was always a goalkeeper. So 1 year as a midfielder, 20-something years as a goalkeeper.
So you touched a bit about playing in Europe, mostly Europe, but what was your college experience like? Was it successful in the South Florida University?
Yeah, college was awesome. At first, I went to University of Hawaii, got in my initial scholarship there, and played 2 seasons there. And as a freshman, I did really, really well. I played the second half of most of the games, and then I transferred to USF. Actually, sorry, reverse. Our freshman year, we won the conference for the first time in school history.
Oh,
So that was pretty amazing.
big.
And then I transferred to USF, and it was a much stronger conference, the Big East. At the time, it was the Big East. We did well. Went to the conference finals for the first time in history, of the school's history rather. Had an awesome experience. The coaching there was amazing. I mean, I have to credit the head coach for University of South Florida for my professional experience, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't know anything about, going to play pro. I was ready for the 9 to 5. And she said, no, I think you should, continue with this. The 9 to 5 will always be there. So just, pursue your dream. I think you're good enough. So, yeah.
No, you mentioned your coach supporting you and encouraging you to go into pro, but what was it like having two Jamaican parents who Jamaican parents are firm on having certain careers? Were they supportive were they supportive in your aspirations of being a footballer, soccer player?
Yes, my mom was very instrumental in that. She would always say, as long as I finish my work, I can go play. So that was always the rule, rather. So, I mean, not to brag, but I was a decent student.
Yes, okay.
I got my work done, and then I was able to go to training. So I remember a few times I was late to training because I didn't finish my work. But yeah, I mean, yes, growing up with two Jamaican parents, my father would come home and say, "You take your book from your com." So
yeah.
I read my whatever it was. So yes, they weren't too tough. My mother was very, very supportive, and she would drive all over the country with me and fly all over the country to various games and stuff.
And that's very important. Like, just the fact that they actually believed in your dream, that's very instrumental for sure.
That's really
so after leaving the club scene, like, did you ever envision yourself as playing for Jamaica or playing for an international team? And when did you actually realize that dream?
Growing up, it's kind of funny you ask that, because growing up, my brother and I would always wish that we were born in Jamaica, because of the heavy influence that our parents and our cousins, etc., and our neighbors had in our lives. So playing for the U.S. personally was never a dream of mine. I didn't even know that I could even play for Jamaica, because when I was younger, it was just club teams, and going to college was kind of like the dream, so to speak. And I remember when I was home from college one time for summer break, I received a call from one of the coach's friends or something like that. Somebody who knows somebody called my mother and said, would Nicole want to play for Jamaica? And she was like, you have to ask her. So she gave me the phone, and I said, yes. I was kind of taken aback because I didn't know that was a thing. And this was back in 2008.
Oh, so that's like 13 years ago. Yeah, long time. So that's how you got called. Now, what is the energy like? What is the atmosphere like in the team? What is it like? It seems very positive from the outside looking in, but what is it really like?
Exactly how you described, just pure vibes. I mean, my first experience with the under 20 team was very unique, because I'd never played with a bunch of players. I had never had teammates who looked like me, because here in America, football is a white sport, in the suburbs and stuff like that, the affluent areas. And I grew up in an urban area where basketball was king, basketball and baseball and stuff like that. So being on Jamaica and hearing patois all the time, and people kind of like giving you a hard time, but in jest, cool experience for me, and I felt like I was home.
Nice.
And that's what is important. So now the big year. I wasn't living in Jamaica. I haven't lived in Jamaica in a while, but I was very, very excited about the journey and the campaign to go to the Women's World Cup. So what was that journey like? And what was that like?
Well, it started in 2014. I have to go back then when the senior team was no longer suspended, because we were suspended for, I think it was 6 to 8 years or something like that, because of lack of funding, or whatever you want to call it. Talk to the JFF about that one. And thanks to Sidella Marley, she funded the team. And
big up yourself, Sidella, anyway you're there.
Yes, exactly, all the time. I have to big up Sidella. I have to big up the Bob Marley Foundation for everything that they have done for the senior squad, and also the under 20s, etc. Because of our success, the rest of the program has been able to survive. But yeah, that journey was tough. Back in 2014, we played in the Caribbean, the CFU, the Caribbean tournaments. We played against Dominican Republic, Trinidad, etc. We lost to Trinidad in the final, but we still managed to make it to the next round. Which was CONCACAF. We didn't do very well there, so that was kind of a disappointment. And then they managed to suspend us again. I didn't even realize until I read an article. I was like, wait a minute, we're suspended again? So yeah, the journey continued in revamped in 2018. I was in Sweden at the time, for the second time. So I wasn't there for the qualifying matches in the CFU tournament because of FIFA protocol and all that stuff. Yeah. So I wasn't able to experience the magic that brought us to the final qualifying round, which was the CONCACAF round. And then I came for that round, which was in the October 2018. And it was like a whole different vibe, because we had different players, different coaching staff. Everything was a little bit more professional at the
intense.
Yeah, way more intense, way more stressful for sure, because we had everybody knows us now, and you had a really good chance of
like a chip on the shoulder that you guys have to do well. Yeah,
exactly, because we managed to finally beat Trinidad in the final. I wasn't there, but we finally beat them, and that was a huge deal. So it's like we're the queens of the Caribbean now. We have to
live up to that.
Show improve.
Right.
I like. So when you guys actually qualified, like what did it feel like? Like for us on the outside looking in, like we were
happy, we were hyped. I was hyped. I was hyped. Trust me, I was very hyped. I was hyped about it. So I can imagine. What was it like for you?
Yes, what was it like for you guys? Yeah.
Well, for me personally, it was a surreal experience, a dream come true. I mean, kind of like a fantasy, because it didn't feel real. Even to this day, almost 3 years later, I still feel like a sense of pride and just so grateful to have been part of that experience. I remember walking into the dressing room after all the stuff on the field happened, and everyone was singing the anthem, just chanting and just carrying on, and just like, it was amazing. I've never experienced something like that before in my life.
I think I saw highlights of that too. I saw some highlights of that.
Yeah.
I had to grab my phone real quick and try and record, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So when you guys finally, I know that there were some struggles going to the World Cup. Did you feel like it was going to happen with the issues that you guys were having? Did you feel like it would come to fruition, like what happened with what was happening? Sorry.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because in 2018, when I joined the squad for the final qualifying round, I had no doubt that we would make it for sure, because everyone was so focused. We had like our blinders on. It was like a different mentality. Everyone was on the same page. So I personally, I had a very good feeling. And one of the coaches, Andrew Price, he would always say at the end of every single training, he would say, "It's written in the stars." And I'm like, okay. So I kind of bought into that. He was a very, very positive man on the pitch. So it resonated. It just trickled down into all of us.
Nice.
That's good. That's good. So, when you guys went to the World Cup now, what was that like? Because that must have been exciting.
Yeah, exciting, stressful, long, lots of adapting because lots of schedule changes and stuff like that. But we kind of were treated like royalty. I remember when we first came into the hotel, one of the hotels, we had like a parade of boys, little young boys, chanting us like, "I like the reggae girls, I like reggae" in French. So it was really, really cool. We had like a whole big ceremony. It was a bus that had, just us on the side. It was crazy.
That's awesome.